I'm Nicolette Richer here from Whistler, British Columbia, and CEO of The Green Mustache. We have a chain of 100% organic live food restaurants where we serve vegan, gluten-free, 100% organic. I can't stress that enough. Farm fresh food that we convert into smoothies and cold pressed juices and delicious meals, warm cooked foods. We have raw foods and we have soups. We have it all. We are also franchising and giving people the opportunity to bring health to their communities, so we can spread the love and spread the health. And you can find us online at greenmustache.com. Check out those franchise opportunities. If you know somebody who wants a career change, who wants to be their own boss, who wants to just really get involved in this mission of reversing cancer and chronic diseases, we're in an epidemic state now. And what's more important than ever before is that we get people eating clean, real food, the stuff that's grown in nutrient-dense soil and gets converted without too much processing or manufacturing, no preservatives, and we get that food to our bellies so we can get healthy once again. So check us out. If you do have a chronic disease or cancer, please connect with me at richerhealth.ca. We have a team of experts that can help you make the lifestyle changes that you need to reverse your disease. And I am super excited today because we are speaking with Dr. Baruch Ben Yehuda, and he is in Maryland, Eastern United States, and he is an incredible human being that has been doing the work that I've been doing probably times 1,000, and he's been doing that for years, for decades actually. And so we're going to hear from Dr. Baruch all about his incredible cafe that he started back in 1995, way before this whole healthy eating trend was a trend. We're going to hear about the books that he's put out, his speaking gigs, becoming a naturopath and what led him to become a naturopath, and the work that he's doing in the United States to really, really tackle this incredible epidemic of chronic disease and to bring health and wellness and social change to the U.S. and beyond on a global scale. So thanks, Dr. Baruch, for being here. It is really a pleasure to meet you.
Thank you for having me. I greatly appreciate it.
Yes. And to let everybody know about how we got connected, because I mean, here we are in little tiny British Columbia, population of 10,000. We have 2 million tourists that, come through Whistler. And Dr. Baruch, you're in Maryland, but you are in what city in Maryland?
This is Capitol Heights.
Yes. Population of about 4,900.
So appropriately, we say Maryland.
Maryland. And I should know that because I went to university. Maryland.
More appropriate.
Okay. And so population is in the population, there's about 4,900 in your city?
Oh, in the city specifically, I'm not sure. But in this Prince George's County, it's 850,000.
Oh, 850,000. Okay, fantastic. So the way that we got connected, is through Howard Strauss. And Howard Strauss is Dr. Max Gerson's grandson. And for those people who know what I do, I teach the Gerson therapy, which is really a plant-based, whole foods diet lifestyle change to tackle cancer and chronic disease. So Howard had interviewed you, I believe, on Gerson Media a while ago, and he was floored. Like, he just had the time of his life talking to you and learning about your story. So I'm super excited to be connected with you, and so you can share with our audience that same story. So can we go back to prior to 1995? Tell me what was happening in your life before you decided to start Everlasting Life Restaurant and Lounge.
Well, I had been a vegan since I was 11 or 12 years of age. And having been a vegan, you notice that in order to get vegan food, you have to go to certain neighborhoods. And I'm in Washington, D.C., and we've watched the demographics here in Washington, D.C. kind of shift. And I'm just noticing that none of the places that I went to eat were in my local neighborhood. And I grew up in Southeast. I tell people.
What year is this? Take us back, because you're 12 years old.
I'm 12 years old. You're going to know how old I am now. So
I am
12 years old about 40 years ago.
Okay, amazing. And so here you are. And what prompted you at 12 to become vegan?
So back in the late 70s, I had been encouraged. Actually, it was the mid 70s. I'd been encouraged by my second grade school teacher because she was the most gorgeous woman I had ever seen in my life. And I, unbeknownst to her or anybody else, maybe everybody else got it, maybe she did too, but I was married to her. That was my wife. And I would help her mark the tests, and I would help her erase the board, and I would bring her an apple to school, and I would carry her books back to her car and from her car. I did whatever I could to help out my wife. I mean, Miss Williams, sorry, my second grade teacher. So when she saw me eating a pork chop sandwich one day, you know, pretty routine. I'm eating a pork chop sandwich, and she walked over and she said, well, what do you have for lunch today? And I said, a pork chop sandwich, and her face wrinkled up. And I said, uh-oh, last thing I want to do is upset my wife. So she started telling me about pork as I'm folding up the aluminum foil around my pork chop sandwich. And I was like, well, you know, I didn't tell her, but enough was enough. All I needed her to see was, or show me, was that she was displeased. Right. So I went back home with the information, told my mother and father, hey, you know, we should stop eating pork. Miss Williams says that it's not good for you, and we should consider, you know, eating other foods because pork just really isn't good. It gives you all these terrible conditions. Yeah. So I said, okay, great. You know, we started there. My father let me know who was the boss of the house. He said, if my wife cooks it and you live in this house, then you're going to eat it. And back then in America, well, at least in my neighborhood, we would all kind of eat the same foods on the same day of the week. So on Thursday, it happened to always be pork. So next week on Thursday, we're consuming our pork meal or being served our pork meal. And my brother and sister couldn't wait to see the spoiled brat not get his way. And so my father walked by me as I was sitting. I had eaten everything on my plate but the pork. And he said, look, don't get up out of that seat until you've eaten all that food. So about 3 o'clock in the morning, my mother came out to the dining room table and woke me up because I had fallen asleep with the pork chop stuck to my head. I had fell on the plate. And that was the last time I have encountered pork. Oh, and so that was when I was 7. So now fast forward to 11, 12, I had been defending the fact that I haven't been eating pork for all of this time. And it kind of got old that I was saying, because my second grade teacher told me not to do it. I had to justify it based on something else. So as I learned more about not eating pork, I learned about, well, why should I eat any of the other animals? Okay. And for the very same reason. So I ended up stopping at age 11 and 12, the consumption of all dead animal flesh. And I became vegan. So that was kind of the impetus of it all. And then we fast forward to 1995. I'm a father of 2 children by that time. And I'm always going across the bridge to get out of my neighborhood to go get healthy food to bring back to my house. Yeah. At the same time, I'm watching people in my neighborhood build ramps on their homes, and everybody's getting sick. And I'm seeing ambulances, and I'm like, what's going on in our neighborhood that everybody's got a ramp and everybody's sick and people are getting their legs amputated? Something's gone wrong, and nobody's paying attention here. So
and this is from like diabetes and condition. Yeah. Yes. Okay.
And so I inquired and got the information, and I happened to be an IT professional. I was very successful. I was making a ton of money. Mm-hmm. I didn't leave my neighborhood, though. I stayed within the people. I stayed with my people. Mm-hmm. And so what happened was, as I was helping this woman prepare for her lecture, so I'm setting up all the computer equipment. We're at a big hall where she's about to do a speech on food business. And so as she was practicing her speech, just to test the mic out, she got to a point in her speech where she said, if you control a man's food, you control him. And at the moment she said him, like a Stepford husband, I got up, I called my wife and I said, honey, we're about to open up a restaurant.
Whoa.
And that began, and within 2 weeks, I had food in my garage that I was distributing to 5 different households. I had 21 different products. It soon expanded to me supplying food to a drug rehabilitation center that was using natural food as an alternative or assisting them and detoxing the bodies of their client base.
And this is 1995. This is in 1995.
1996, I was on Georgia Avenue, just across from Howard University and right next to a vegetarian restaurant. So I opened up with immediate success. There was not like no pause. It was like, boom, open up. And all of a sudden I get a rush of customers.
Now, now who are your customers? This is what I'm curious about because, you know, here we are, fast forward to 2018. I mean, I still have people saying there's no connection between food and the body, food and diet, food and health. Like, you know, so like this is incredible. Like, I'm 10 years old at the time when this is happening. And, you know, I have a similar story to being like 4 and 5 years old and my dad cooking up a steak and it's got the big white grizzle around it. And he's like, you're not leaving this table until you eat that grizzle. And it's the best thing, you know. And I remember, like, at that time, just like, I love salads and I love vegetables and I love fresh food. And, you know, and here my parents are saying, you have to eat the meat. It's good for you. You need the protein, you need the fat, you need everything. So, you know, like, this is incredible that this is happening. And particularly like in the southern, like, this is southern states, right? Like, I went to university in Mississippi and the minute I got there, I gained 25 pounds just like, it was, I couldn't believe it. Like, the change in diet was so drastic and it just was, you know, and that was me trying to eat healthy salads, but they were smothered in incredible, like, non-healthy foods, lots of, you know. So what was that like for you? Can we go back to that part where, you know, you're a 12-year-old, you're telling your friends, your family, your neighbor, like, were you ostracized? Did they think you were crazy? Like, you know.
It was just good that I was as big as I was.
Oh, right.
And I was tall. I looked like I could defend myself because I was bird man. I was rabbit food man. I was carrot, you know, Mr. Carrot. I was broccoli head. I was all kinds of things. And they laughed and they joked and they jeered. And it was such a fun time for them at lunchtime. What you got for lunch today? Let me see what you got, you know. And it only became funny for me. Well, not only, but it became funnier for me after I went back for my school reunion.
Right, because I bet
like 15, 20 years later, I go back for my school reunion and I look around at everybody and I'm like, oh, wow, look at Rabbit Food Man now.
Yeah, I bet. And it was the same for me because I played tennis in Mississippi and, you know, we were young, like we were 18, 19, 20. And so all of us were slim. You know, we definitely were like probably about 10 pounds, 15 pounds overweight because of all the unhealthy food, but we were playing every day. And it's interesting because I see a lot of my teammates and now they're like 200, 250 pounds and, you know, suffering from all of these, like getting surgeries and bariatric surgeries and like all of these things. And, and you do see it, like I see it in myself, like I'm way too busy to exercise a ton. Walking is about the most I get in, but I have a healthy diet and, it's kept my body, like I lost all that weight that I gained from being in the South and, I'm slim and it's incredible. You see the difference between, a healthy diet and an unhealthy diet for sure. So Carrot Man, let's hear about, fast forward again. So here you are, you've distributing food from your garage. And then you move on and then you set up a vegetarian restaurant, you're busy. So who are the customers who are coming to see you and why are they coming to see you?
Well, I'm right across from Howard University.
Okay.
So most of my customers were immediately Howard University students trying to get something healthy because there wasn't much healthy available on campus at that time. They've since brought a lot more on. But there wasn't a lot healthy. It still wasn't a very popular thing to do. Eating healthy was just like, like you said earlier, there was no connection between eating healthy and being healthy. It was like you got unhealthy because, a meteor hit you from somewhere, It had nothing to do with your eating. So that was a large part of what we ended up having to do. That is educate our customers. And because I was right there smack dab in the neighborhood where 60 Minutes had just run a program talking about this is the most dangerous street in all of America, I'm on that street. And literally with bullet holes riddled through the front door of we had a roll down door. So the metal door would have bullet holes from years of, I guess, the crime and violence that had been taking place there. But I said, this is exactly where we need to be because this is going to be the place where we're going to be able to affect the most change. So we opened up there and it was so very well welcomed because grandma was able to now walk to a grocery store because prior to that, she had to get a bus or a cab or have somebody drop her and take her to get something. Now she could walk and get some fresh organic produce and she could walk and get some healthy food and she could talk to people where she could go in the grocery store and there were people that looked like her and talked like her and could relate to her. And she could tell all of her stories about how she used to eat this way back in the day. And why don't you come by my house? Because I'm going to make you some, some bok choy or I'm going to make some collard greens or some kale greens. And I'm going to make them like we used to make them back in the day. But I won't put any meat in them because I know you all are vegans here. So those are the things that we experienced back then. And it was very good. It's very good. So the biggest thing that helped us was the education because the people didn't get it. The education had never gotten to, or it wasn't getting filtered down to the point where people were really understanding that connection between why do I have diabetes and what am I eating? They didn't make that connection. So we had to help build that bridge and make that connection. And once we built that bridge, it was like a rush. We had so many customers coming over to our side and wanting to do business and wanting to, eat healthier and wanting to find out more and getting more information. So we started bringing in lecturers, and we brought in everybody, the Howard Strausses of the world. We were bringing in because we realized that if we brought them in to speak, well, it would only substantiate people's rationale and reasoning for coming and doing business with us.
That's
so
amazing.
We did more and more of that. And eventually I got to a point where I said, I need to speak. So I went and I started speaking. And that's when I realized that, okay, I need to learn more. And as I was learning more, somebody convinced me, so well, why don't you just become a naturopath? Because what you're learning is the same thing we learn. Why don't you learn that? And then you can, teach them and have all of this behind you. And so that was the beginning of it. I can't say it was all, roses. It was some pretty tough days. In fact, there were days where we made less than $50, less than $25 on a day, because it was tough at times. But we were able to advance and continue to move forward. We pulled through. And now I would say we're probably the most successful vegan restaurant in the DC metropolitan area now.
Yeah, no, it sounds like it for sure. And you have a big location as well.
Yes, we have a location this is where we are now. It's Everlasting Life. And we have the food bar area where you can grab your food. Then you have a dining room where we can seat you in here. You can eat your food, or we can bring in Howard Strauss by Skype and put him on the screen so he can talk to everybody. And we can do lectures, workshops, and seminars. And you're on the hook, right? Because we're coming to get you. You got to speak to our customers, Dan.
Oh my gosh, come and get me. It would be an honor. Seriously, great. An honor, please.
Yes. So, okay. And we have two other smaller locations where one location is really committed to making healthy food affordable, which is a big problem that I see, that the healthier food is less affordable to many other people. So they got to go back to what they know and what they can afford, more so what they can afford than anything else, what they afford and what they can afford and what they have access to. Yeah. So we created a vegan burrito shop called Vigoritos. And Vigoritos is you can get a burrito for, I think it's now less than $7. So you can get a meal for less than $7 and you're full for the rest of the evening. You're good. And that was keeping with our purpose that, this didn't need to be taken away from the people that needed it the most. This needed to be brought to them.
Yeah.
And that's still our campaign as we seek to always partner and do what we can to provide these services and the support to the underserved and disserved communities.
Okay. So Dr. Baruch, I'm going to jump in here because I have a question from somebody who's listening here. And Marie, I'm actually doing my PhD right now, my Doctor of Social Sciences, and Marie is actually online. She's one of my colleagues in the program, and she lives in Northern Saskatchewan, and she works with First Nation youth and adults up there. And I mean, she lives in a community where like suicide rates are through the roof. Like kids are killing each other or killing themselves left, right, and center. And you talked about providing good, clean, healthy food to addiction centers, right? And we know addictions and mental health and diet are all related, like gut health, brain health, totally connected. So what she's asking is, how could, like, you did this in a, pretty much like a food desert, right? Like hard to get organic, clean food, probably I'm imagining super expensive at the time too. And so what advice do you have for her in Northern Canada, to be able to get like clean, healthy food up there?
Well, I would say one of the first things she might consider looking at is partnership. Mm-hmm. Don't try to take it all on yourself. Create a partnership with businesses that can align with you and even grow their businesses off of your success. So that's what happened as I opened up first as a grocery store. Okay. And I was right next to a vegan restaurant, a very well-known vegan restaurant. So all of a sudden now, all of their customers became my customers, and all of my new customers became their customers as well. So creating that partnership and building that partnership where we can both grow and build was significant. And I would say if she has that opportunity to partnership with somebody who can see benefit in you connecting up with them, I think that's a good look. But otherwise, I think we have to start looking at nature, and we have to start looking at our capital, the natural capital that exists out here. We got sunlight, we got water, we got air, and for the most part, don't have to pay for it all, right? So and you got dirt, and you can get some seeds, and you can plant them in the ground, and you can start growing the food that you need. And although it's not right away, it's not instant, it takes some time, but you're able to then grow food. And once you grow the food and the energy that causes an individual to feel inside that, wow, I planted that seed and that turned into an eggplant. Wow, now I'm eating the eggplant that I planted a seed in the ground. It really has a way of moving an individual. And I would encourage them to do those two things. Look at where you can take advantage of the natural capital that's available to us. But in addition to that, find out who you can partner with who sees benefit. In other words, they're going to be motivated for you to be successful, because if you're successful, they're going to be even more successful. And if you create that type of partnership, I think that's a great way to establish a foundation for your business and grow your business. And you never have to disconnect. You can always be partner as long as they're cool with it. You can always be partnered, and you all are just growing together and expanding and franchising and doing whatever. But I think that's a great first move. The other would be education. Mm-hmm. People need to know more. And along with that education of what it is that they don't know now, but need to know with regard to how food impacts their not only physical health, but mental health and emotional health. You know, we could go down health across the board. You know, what goes into you is what creates what's in you, right? So the healthier that you put in, the healthier you get out of it. Yeah. And I would say there's a big campaign that she could launch with using people like yourself and others who can educate her customer base based on our experience. We can educate her customer base and substantiate what she's trying to do with that third party validation. You know, we can come in and say, you know, everything that she's saying is true, is absolutely true. And we've seen it happen. And not only have we seen, but we have testimonies of people who can tell you that it worked for them. And people who are experiencing challenges can look up and say, wow, that's where I am right now. And you're telling me you got from where I am right now to where you are right now. I want to go. But another part of this is self-esteem. If we don't elevate the self-esteem of the end user or the listener, then this doesn't make sense to anybody, because I'm just a worthless nobody otherwise. And until I elevate my self-esteem and recognize the value of myself and my self-worth, then all of a sudden, all of this makes sense. And all of what we used to do doesn't make sense anymore. So I think those are things that she might consider.
Yeah, no, that's really good advice. And excuse me, I'm just getting over, Whistler gets hit by a cold every February.
Okay.
And I thought I was safe. I thought my awesome diet would keep me free from it, but I've been working a little bit too much.
Okay.
Anyway, so a little tickle in my throat, everybody. I will be okay. I promise I'll survive. So one of the things I want to go back to, and especially for Marie, is this comment about that you mentioned about providing food to the
underserved and disserved.
Well, providing food actually to, how did you get the connection and the partnership with the addiction? Was it an addiction center?
Yes.
Yeah, we can talk about that.
I was invited to speak at an event where the drug rehabilitation program was present as a vendor, and the owner of the owner of the business was there, and he heard me talk about how detoxification. This is not only a nutritional detoxification, but it's a narcotic detoxification. It's a drug detoxification when you're cleaning the cells of the body. And the light bulb went off for him, and he was like, man, right away. I think one of his first orders was like a $2,500 order, which expanded me beyond the capacity of my garage, the space that I had available. So I had to move once I started engaging him.
Yeah.
And yeah, he got it right away. He said, wow, you know, I'm really trying to help these people. This isn't just about me making some money. I really want to help these people overcome their addictions. And what better way to do it than with clean food? You know, so he got on that very quickly just from hearing me have that speech and speak about that in particular. Yeah,
and you know, I think that brings up a really good point, is that at the end of the day, you know, we can sit back in our offices and our computers and, you know, create a service or a product and like try and push it out there. But at the end of the day, it comes down to relationships, right? And that educating and taking time to sit with people and talk about things and have that dialogue back and forth, you know, where people get the opportunity to ask those questions and then go, aha, you know what? The light bulb just went off. Like there's a click that happens. And then when that happens, it's amazing how fast you can advance things forward. So like building those relationships are so key to, advancing and moving all of this forward. So you started providing food, and, you know, were they seeing results with the patients who were at these centers, at this center?
Oh, yes. They had much success, you know, and it just further substantiated them continuing on. So that was the underbed of my success. A lot of people couldn't figure out, well, why are you so successful so quickly? Well, I was right next to a vegan restaurant at first, and then I'm connected with this drug rehabilitation program that's spending tons of money every week on food products that they, that again, no other grocery store was getting that kind of benefit from. And I think he probably had hundreds of clients inside of his place. So I'm feeding hundreds of clients every single day off of this food that we're providing. We would go in and do food demonstrations because sometimes they didn't know what to do with the different foods. So we would show them what they could do with the different foods. And that just increased the income. That increased the business for us. So that's how we substantiate and strengthen that connection with them. But it wasn't that everybody was so inclined, because we went to all the other drug rehabilitation centers and said, hey, buddies, look, we got it. We got just what you're looking for. And a lot of them let us know, no, that's not what we're really not looking for people to get better, because if people get better, then we go out of business.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there's a whole new business that can be created from it. Like, this is the beautiful thing about it. And you've shown that with your restaurant and then becoming a naturopath and, all the other incredible things that you've done. I love this. And you actually reminded me of a story when we first opened up our second location. Within the first day, this guy came in and he slapped down $1,000 on the bar and a cooler. And he said, I want you to just fill my cooler every single day with organic, vegan, plant-based food. And I'll come drop off a new cooler every single morning and grab the old one and, do this exchange. And I was like, okay. So we started doing this for him. And then I started to, get to know him and everything. And it turns out he was in prison in the US for one of the biggest art heists ever known to the history of the US. And so while he was in prison, though, he had these these realizations and these epiphanies around food and this connection between food and mental health. And he realized that his diet had actually contributed to his inability to think clearly, to get involved with the wrong people, to get involved in crime, and then which eventually landed him in prison. So in prison, he switched to a vegan diet and a plant-based nutrient. And I'm still wondering to this day, and we're going to interview him eventually. I'm going to have to track him down again. But, it was there that he realized the relationship between diet and mental health. And ever since then, he's been eating well. And now he's got this thriving, amazing business. He's back to life and everything. So, for the people out there who are, who deny the fact that maybe there's a relationship between diet and mental health. I mean, you can learn from people who've been there. Right now, that there's still not a lot of science. Everybody wants the hard science. And I'm sure you've been asked that question, where's the data that says that this is true? As opposed to, sometimes we just need to look at the experiences of real people on the ground where it's affected them and it's changed their lives as well. So,
well, I think that's incredible. Science. If you look at the Appleton, Wisconsin study that they did with the youth, they took the troubled youth out of the school, put them in a separate building, and changed their diet. And that was the only thing that they did, is change their diet. All of a sudden, homework assignments started coming in. No more fighting in the hallway. No more truancy. No more, missing school. And, the whole list of all the things that were a problem with these individuals, all of them went away when all of a sudden all they did was change them to an organic food diet.
Yeah.
And so there is proof. And then they did the same thing at a prison, where they offered the inmates at an institution the healthier food options. And all of a sudden it changed the emotional and behavioral energy that was being expressed by these individuals. Again, when you change how a person feels about themselves, which I think accompanies the diet, but it goes both ways. That if you change the diet, then all of a sudden they start feeling better about themselves. If you change how they feel about themselves, then all of a sudden, they want a better diet because I'm worth more. I'm more valuable, and I need to eat healthier. So I see that as being a success in Appleton, Wisconsin, as well as the prison institution there. But and it's proven. But the problem is that's not the success that the big corporations want. That's not the success that the pharmaceutical drug dealers and the medical institutions that are warehousing these people, literally. That's not the success that they want, because that doesn't necessarily generate more customers and more, or therefore less income comes in.
Exactly. Yeah, and it's there's this perception that in the U.S., the U.S. is so unhealthy, and definitely we see the cancer and diabetes and heart disease rates, but those same rates are actually in Canada. And there's this perception that north of the border, everybody's so healthy, and, sure, maybe we exercise a little bit more, maybe, in certain parts of Canada, and, maybe we don't have obesity rates exactly the same as the US, but in fact, in Canada, it's exactly the same. We are just as unhealthy, exactly the same death rates associated to those chronic diseases. And it's incredible. Our restaurant received a letter a couple of years ago saying, by the way, you can't use the word healthy in your marketing. And this is a thing that I just ignored it. But in the US, I've actually had people tell me that they've been by selling natural food products, because they use words like healthy on it, or that it's still nutritious. They were actually almost one particular gentleman from Canada who has his business in the States, had it for years, and the FDA came after him and said, if you don't get rid of the language on there, and if you don't stop using the word healthy, we're actually going to take you to court and put you in prison. And so he had to shut down his business. And he was literally serving plant food. And so I know that politically and economically, there definitely are some, I think, bigger powers at play in the US, but I mean, they're here in Canada as well. But at the end of the day, as human beings, I mean, you've proven it, we've proven it. You start on the ground, you start with community, and then, before you know it, you can create those changes. And I imagine you must have had just incredible stories of people coming through who were probably at hit rock bottom, and they found you and it turned their life around. Can you think of any particular stories that you can share with us?
Oh yeah, we get them all the time, and it's an ongoing thing. You get the person who came to you, the guy came to us bleeding from both ends of his body, and that he had prostate cancer and he was bleeding anus and rectum. His doctor sent him home to die and said, just make yourself comfortable. And he drove straight from the hospital to the restaurant and said, Doc, I'm throwing my life, on your altar. Tell me what it is that I need to do in order to get well. And I told him, I gave him your diet. I said, nothing but raw organic all the time. That's all you should be eating. Right now it's probably going to be difficult for you to digest. So juice it or blend it so that, it's broken down. So he did that, and that was maybe 7 years ago. And he was just here in my restaurant just a couple of days ago talking about how he wouldn't be here had it not been for, and how all of his friends and, people that likewise suffered from the health challenges that he did, they're not here anymore. And they went through the standard American protocol of, chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery.
Yeah.
So we see it every day. We get a chance to be exposed. And of course, what I'm doing as a conduit for the information to get through to the people is I'm always learning. I'm always researching. I'm always trying to figure out what it is that I can do to help an individual. But what happens is after I help that one individual who's got diabetes, there's a million people in the DC metropolitan area with diabetes. So now you just, play your drum a little louder and you reach, more people, and they realize that, wow, I can get the same results that this person got. Let me make the changes that you suggested that they made.
Yeah.
So, that's our pursuit. Our pursuit is to allow food to really be our medicine once again. And, I want to bring attention to the fact that this whole vegan campaign, veganism is this big thing, but vegan is political. And in America, vegan is political. And it also, when you think of somebody vegan, 10 years ago, if you thought of somebody vegan, they were of a certain race, and many of them were of a certain preference in relationships. So so now, I'm taking it back and I'm saying, well, wait a minute. All you're doing is you're taking the diet that we had before you came and decided to civilize us. You're taking the diet that we had at one point and now giving it back to us, putting a high price tag on it, calling it something that you decided to label it, and now making it like this cult thing. And I was like, no, this is just about, healthy eating, and plant-based eating is what we were engaged in. We didn't have all this newfangled stuff out here. We didn't have refrigerators and so on and so forth. And that's what we were eating. And that's what we would still be eating. Probably, but now with the advent of these big warehouse farms and the commercialization of our food, now people have decided, well, let's make a whole bunch of money off of these people. And what better way to do it than to, warehouse it and send it from South America, the southern tip, all the way up here on a train and gas it so that it can actually look like it's supposed to look by the time it gets here. Yeah. And it's unfortunate, it'd be great if we could have just somehow or another convinced somebody to just leave us alone. We all right.
Yeah, what? I think you really tap onto a super important point there, because Marie in Northern Saskatchewan in First Nation community, I think there's a bit of an echo here, I'm not sure why. But Marie, can you turn your sound down just a little bit, Dr. Baruch?
Yes, you're breaking up just a bit, but go ahead.
Okay, hopefully, okay, good. So Marie's in like Northern Saskatchewan working with, First Nation, it's a First Nation community. She's grown up there. She went to school there. And you're in the States and we're talking about, African Americans, we're talking about Indigenous people, and the thing that is so phenomenal, what I always talk about in workshops is that, we just need to go back 150 years, 200 years, and we just need to be eating the foods that, the poor people really were eating, but they were rich because they were eating the real food from the land that wasn't processed and packaged. So let's talk a little bit about that, because I know that there's this perception, and you hit it right on the head, like this label of veganism, and how it all of a sudden, again, helps to separate classes and separate people. And, it allows us to put these high price tags on it. But really eating this way is so cheap.
Yes.
Eating real food is so cheap. So there's one of your talks that I know that you do, and it's the difference between a standard American diet, the SAD diet, and the difference between the standard Black American diet. Can you tell me about the difference between those two and let our audience know what you mean by that?
Well, the standard American diet is, I guess maybe you would compare it to maybe smoking a cigarette and adding alcohol along with that cigarette, lifestyle. So the standard American diet, we know is bad for you. We know it's bad for you. We see the results. We know that America ranks at the bottom of everybody, all the other industrialized countries, and we know the reason why. We know it's the diet. And but what we in the African American community have done, as and I'm sure with significant encouragement, is we've made ours saltier, we've made ours greasier, and we've made ours sweeter. Yeah. So those three combinations now create the SBAD diet, the standard Black American diet, and the standard Black American diet just accelerates, the end, and accelerates you on the path of getting unhealthier quicker. So it's all bad. It's just that we tend to take it to another level. And again, I think that has to do with what's being made available to us. Mm-hmm. What is in our neighborhood? We got Crackdonald's and Murder King and Taco Hell and Wind Disease and Chokers and Both Strangles and the International House of Pulmonary Heart Disease. Well, they're right here. I'm looking out my window and I see like 4 of those places right now, right outside where my restaurant is. And that's what we have in our neighborhood. In addition to that, that's what gets marketed to us. And that's what we're accustomed to. And of course, the price point on those is so much more attractive than the price point on, healthier food options. And plus, you can't just walk to those places. You got to get in a car, bus, or plane and get there. It's not in our neighborhood. So it's we do know that there is this isn't by mistake, but this is by design. The standard Black American diet is by design. It's like, okay, we're gonna educate and empower these people. We're gonna make them get excited about fried chicken. And fried chicken, if you don't have fried chicken at an event where you invite Black people, it's like, well, why did you invite us? What are we doing here? We're not welcome. And that's all to do with our education and our self-image. And I think it goes even a little deeper. And I'll go there because that's what you want me to do. I think it has to do with our perception of religion and our perception of life and how life on this planet is connected with life after this planet. That somehow or another, what we do here doesn't matter a whole lot, because once we get past here, we'll be in this great, glorious place, and it won't even be a big deal anymore what I did back there. And it's funny because I was talking to a client of mine, and I said, hey, man, you love fried chicken. You can't let it go. You can't let it go. Can't let it go. But you talk about how religious you are and how righteous you are and how much you want to do the right things and how much you want to be found in alignment with your religious order. And I said, what, do you think they're frying chicken up in heaven? And he looked at me with a pause like, oh, no. You mean that if I go to heaven, I'm not going to have a fried chicken joint? I said, come on, man. You think we got slaughterhouses in heaven? No. And it's interesting because I don't think people make the solid connection. And I don't think people understand that this is all we got right now. This is all we know that we have. And we should be working as hard as we can to make the best of what we got right here, right now, as opposed to planning on or not doing as well as we should and planning on getting someplace else so that we can do better. Yeah. Well, that's a good way to live.
Yeah, no, it is. I mean, it's a brilliant way to live. And so what do you do for it? So yeah, maybe you could help us understand, and especially for myself as well in working with my clients, because the saddest thing is when I see someone come up to me And they're like, listen, I've been just diagnosed with this. I'm 29 years old. My doctor wants to give me a hysterectomy because I have 18 fibroids the size of grapefruits in my belly, in my uterus. Or somebody else comes up to me and they're like, yeah, my doctor wants to remove all of my organs because, I have this autoimmune disorder and they don't know what to do. And these are all the things that my clients have been able to reverse through food and diet. Like, it's incredible. But the sad thing is when they come up and they say, you know what, I know I should make the changes. And then they just don't make the changes. They don't want to put the effort in, the time in, and they don't know how. They're struggling. They have low energy. And it's sad when sometimes I just know that they have to hit rock bottom. So like in the work that you've been doing, because you've been doing this for so long, what can we say and do to encourage people to adopt these changes? And what do we need to do, not just on an individual to individual level, but on a individual within the community level? How can we support people so that they don't have to hit rock bottom? Or do you think that they just do?
Well, I think two major things that you would have to do, maybe three. One is you got to make them feel better about themselves. And that first off, the best way to do that is how you refer to them. So, you can say hi to somebody, or you can say hi queen, or you can say hi king. And all of a sudden it's like, whoa, what are you doing calling me a king?
A little taller.
I'm no king. And eventually it's like, oh, well, maybe I am a king. And maybe that does make me feel good. When you come through the door, hey, beautiful. All of a sudden, whoa, I'm beautiful. Nobody's ever referred to me as beautiful or handsome or what have you. Then you start working on them on that level. And I would say another thing is group dynamics. The way that groups can help a person change is really good. It's really, we have great success in that group dynamic scenario. So I tell people, one of the first things that I encourage a person to do when they want to change their diet, change their health outcomes is, okay, you need to change your friends. And if you're not successful at changing your friends, then you need to change your friends, because they ain't the ones that you need to be hanging around with. So that's kind of the first thing. They want to know, well, where do I start this? You start this by changing your friends. First, change your self-image. How do you see yourself when you look in the mirror? Change your friends. And if you can't change your friends, then change your friends. And then we create that friend network here where we have the support group meetings where people can come in with any and every health challenge on the planet. And we treat it like it's a challenge, in that we say, okay, I bring in other naturopaths, or I bring in even other medical doctors who are aligned with my thinking. And I say, okay, look, these are the people that are in the room. These are the challenges that they've got. What are the suggestions that we think would be good for them to embark upon, that in 2 weeks or in a week from now, when we meet again, we can see that they've made progress. So we go down and we give people a group kind of lesson, a group education on what it is that they can do in order to become healthier. And we know it's not really that everything is boilerplate, but when we're so far off from what is good, you got to get back to the boilerplate. So we start off by good, clean eating. Let's get some nutritional supplements in us, because we know the food supply has been damaged by design. We know it's been damaged. So let's start now with supplementation and some basic supplements that you can take. Let's start drinking water. Let's cut back on all the sugary beverages. Let's cut out all the processed foods that is causing inflammation inside of the body, which is, we know, one of the major causes for many of the illnesses that we have. And you go down that list, and before you know it, you got people screaming and hollering, because testimonies are significant. So when you have somebody coming to a meeting for the first time and somebody's up there screaming and hollering and crying and carrying on because they now got their diagnosis and there's no diagnosis, it's like, whoa, I want what she got. What did y'all do for her? And it's a great motivator. So that group therapy, we think that group therapy is really a linchpin in getting somebody to say, you know what, all right, I'll do this. I'll do this for 6 months. And after 6 months, if this doesn't work, we say, well, after 6 months, it doesn't work, then go on and get you some chemo, radiation, or surgery. You got that much time.
Yeah. So you bring up a really good point here. And I wonder if the rest of the audience and listeners are getting this, is that, and I've always, right now what I've been telling people is that where we are when it comes to food is exactly where we were 20 and 30 years ago when we were talking about cigarettes. And it's exactly where we were, when Alcoholics Anonymous, came to be. And it's almost like we need exactly the same thing, Alcoholics Anonymous, but for food addiction, to this processed food industry that's been created and put upon us, and that we welcomed, because we got addicted to it. And having that ability to, show up in a place where you are supported. And I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head with, if you can't change your friends, then change your friends. I'm always like, if you are surrounding yourself by people who are calling you, carrot man, and, you eat like a bird and you need your protein, so get your meat and your dairy, and, but they're not looking at the science. They're not looking at the evidence. You got to get rid of those friends, and you have to be surrounded. And so do you think about, like, is that what we need, is like an Alcoholics Anonymous for food addictions to processed food? Is that what?
Yeah, I think that's the kind of people that we are. I think we're a communal people.
We are.
I think we move in mobs. I think if the mob is moving in that direction, there'll be some people who be like, well, I'm going to go the way they're going, because it just looks like that's where everybody's going. I don't necessarily know that I would have made this change on my own, but because everybody else appears to be going in that direction, it must be a good thing. I want what they're getting at the end of the road, and I don't know what's over there, so let me go with what they got. Because maybe they have more intelligence, maybe they have more knowledge, maybe they have more whatever.
And community, it's community.
Bet on them.
Yeah. And the community piece is huge. Like, this is what everybody needs to understand, is that, you can try and do it alone, but, getting yourself surrounded by a community that thinks the same way, that believes in the same things. I mean, it's the only thing that's ever driven things forward anyway, and once that community starts to grow and then other people start to look in and see it, it's exactly that. It's like, I want to be part of that. I love it. I love it. And so you do workshops as well, so out of your location, and, and people hear about it. And, do you still have a lot of people who are, you've built this community, it's been around. So I'm just assuming everybody now walking the streets in your community, they know who you are, they know your restaurant, they get it, or is there a changeover in your community? In Whistler, we have people every 6 months that come in, and then their visas expire, and then they have to fly back home. So it's constant change. So I'm always having the conversation every single day where people are like, seriously, there's no protein in your food. What's it like for you in your restaurant, where I know that you do this education, but is it like this day in and day out? Or, has your community grown so big and strong that, it's just a community of like-minded people? What's it like for you on a day-to-day basis?
Sure. Well, we get new customers every single day. Okay. The churches are having their Daniel fast, or somebody just got the diagnosis, or somebody's auntie just died and they just decided they want to eat healthy, or somebody's just now decided to be a radical and they don't want to do anything that everybody else is doing. So part of that is, I'm going to change my diet. So we get all of these different categories of people that come into us. And many times we, over the course of the day, we might have easily 10-15% of our customers are new. Plus we have those that, of course, are eating from us every day. And I say every day, and I mean it, because we change our menu every day. So every day, the customers who came in yesterday are going to get something new today. And it's like, wow, so it's like almost like eating at home, or going to grandma's house. Mm-hmm. And so we get both of them. And I think both of them work to encourage one another, because that new person who's walking through the door, the person who's been here for a while can't, he sees that they look new and he can't wait to go over and say, hey, man, but this is how this works. You go over here, you do this, bro. I would eat that because that's what I like. And I used to eat what you ate. But now, I would encourage you to do that. So a lot of the work gets done by the community of customers that we have. But on top of that, the existing customers, the longtime customers that we have are encouraged, because they're seeing those wide-eyed open, people that walk through the door and are like, what is this? Like, why are all of y'all eating vegetables? And is that really not chicken? Are you telling me it's not chicken? No, it's not chicken. So they get a chance to be inspired to continue on the path, because they can look back and say, I can remember when I looked like you look, and I had the health challenges you got. I don't have any of that anymore. So it's almost like a self-perpetuating thing. They both push one another, and it just so happens in the business space that we're in, we get a chance to benefit from it, but not only benefit from it, but be inspired and charged to help more people and do what we can to help more people.
That is amazing. And what's the average price of a meal in your restaurant?
There's an average meal. The most popular meal is our entree and two side. And our entree and two side back in 1998 was $11. Yeah. And it was probably pricey then, but it's always going to be pricey, because, as long as you can get a crappy meal at Crackdonald's for $2.99, $11.99 or $11 is going to seem like a lot. So once you get over that hurdle, then you realize that, wow, I'm spending more money on my food, less money on maybe some of the other stuff that I really didn't need in my life. But look at the results that I'm getting. I feel better. I can breathe a lot more. I have more energy. I've lost weight, all of these things. So people normally over the course of a couple of months, they begin to see how, wow, this made so much sense.
Yeah.
And but I would say our average meal price, if you add a drink onto that, is probably about $15.
Okay. Yeah. So, and this is the thing that I love is that you've proven this model for decades now that you can run a healthy restaurant, provide healthy plant-based meals, that you don't have to be offering the Diet Cokes. And I'm assuming you don't have any Diet Cokes and sodas and everything in the cafe. Exactly. So you don't have to go there. I mean, in fact, one of our advisory board members just opened up a restaurant, and her team, that she thought that they were on board with providing healthy food, turned around and said, oh, can we start serving Coke? We can make so much money from it. People want it. She was like, no, absolutely not. But she had to go tooth and nail with them to convince them that this is not the way to go. And this is 2018. This is crazy. So, for people who are listening out there, if you think that you have to provide foods that you think the community wants, actually, Dr. Baruch has proven through, Everlasting Life Restaurant and Lounge that you don't have to do that. You can provide the real food, the good food, the organic food, the healthy food. You can charge a little bit more for it, or even compared to McDonald's, a lot more for it, but people will come. And we've proven that through the Green Mustache as well. And, our meals are about, and these are big, hefty meals too. You're filling yourself up with lots of vegetables, and they're $12.95 now for a meal. And a few bucks more if you want an organic cold pressed juice or something else. But all the beverages are healthy, and we've proven that this model works. That you don't have to charge $24 for you can go out for $24 for a steak and 3 carrots and some deep fried stuff, but that's not going to get you healthy. But people are willing to pay double the amount for that, but maybe not so much for this bountiful plate of vegetables. And so I want to talk about some of the vegetables that you are eating, because I know for some people they're going to go, $11 is too much, $12.95 is too much. I can't go and eat that way. It's also hard to prepare the food. But, some of the ingredients that I saw, on your menu, collard greens. We serve collard greens as well. And there's so many people up here in Canada who had no idea what collard greens are. But I was eating them when I was in Mississippi. It's one of the most nutritious greens on the planet. So tell us about some of the foods that, people can be eating and just cooking at home, and how they can make them, and how, I think it's easy, but for a lot of people who are making this lifestyle change, it's new and it can be hard. It can seem hard.
Sure. Well, we do everything from asparagus, collard greens, Brussels sprouts, kale greens, cauliflower, the list goes on of different vegetables that we're bringing, and in some instances exposing people to, what do you mean black rice? What's black rice? Try it, wild rice. So, other meals and other dishes that we provide people that they had no clue even existed. And not only now do they know that they exist, but they taste good. And they're asking, when are you going to have it on the menu again? So we're seeing this, people eating portobello mushrooms and don't know that those little button mushrooms actually grow into portobello mushrooms. So it's really not any different. It's just bigger. And, so a lot of education, again, accompanied with the information that we have here. So our customers, when they come through, we got to let them sample. So they sample because, we eat with our eyes, but we also, we like to sample, and we like to know when we get home or when we get to the table, it's going to taste good. So we get we get a good number of people in that space who are willing to venture out and try the vegetables and see that they are palatable. The old stigma back in the day was eating healthy was like 4 or 5 things. One, it was expensive. It didn't taste good. It was going to give you the runs. And I think it was one other thing out there. I can't remember, but it was like, that was it. And it was enough. That was enough to make somebody not want to eat it. Why am I going to spend more money for something that doesn't taste good that's going to give me the runs? I'm not doing it. And it's not local to my community. I got to go over there to get it? No, I'm not going to do that. So we, again, by exposing people to more of this, we're exposing them to what they can consume at home. So sure, they'll come and they'll eat our food, and then they'll say, well, I'm going to try this at home. And they'll try it at home. And I just tell people the quickest way to do it is go to YouTube, go out there on some video, server, and just type in vegan, whatever. And whatever it is that you want to make, somebody has made it, and you can try what they've made and, and put your twist on it and possibly make it even taste better or be healthier than what they've made. Yeah,
I know. I just was informed about this word called food porn. And, and I think it's hilarious actually, but there's all these people who are like addicted to it, food porn. And I'm like, this is great. Never before has it been easier to acquire this knowledge. But, again, still so many people are like, how do I cook the collard greens? And people just go to YouTube, do it yourself, cook collard greens. There's so many incredible, chefs and foodies out there that are like posting free information about how to cook vegetables, how to cook plant-based food, nutrient-dense food, how to conserve the nutrients in the food as well. You can cook it slowly, you can put it in the oven and bake it. And in fact, so much of this food is so easy. Like you literally wash it, chop it. You don't even have to add too much seasoning or anything to it. And you just put it in the oven and walk away for an hour. And then you come back and you have like the, delicious fruits and vegetables. It doesn't have to be, too complicated. I love what you're doing and what you've been doing for so long. Tell me about the books that you've written. So one of them, The Keys to Mastering Nature's First Law. Can you tell us about that book?
So, okay, I'm going to start with the other one. So let me start with The Keys to Mastering the Phenomenal You. So I realized that the information that I was giving wasn't sticking. People weren't getting it. I'm listening to you, but it's going straight over my head. I don't see how that relates to anything in my world. And that's when I realized that, okay, you don't feel good enough about yourself that you would even be able to embrace what it is that I'm sharing with you. So that's why the Phenomenal You came out, because I wanted to make people feel phenomenal. If they felt phenomenal, then they would want to eat a phenomenal diet. They would want to get more phenomenal information. So we came out with The Keys to Mastering the Phenomenal You. Then we've been teaching about health and wellness, and this whole concept is about, maintaining life at the end of the day. We're just wanting to maintain life and maintaining life in a good, healthy space. And that's what The Keys to Mastering Nature's First Law, which is, of course, self-preservation. So we're teaching those two concepts, feeling better about yourself and self-preservation, so that we can cause people to get better results with their own life pursuit, but also see the relationship between what it is that they're doing and those results that they're getting.
Amazing. Okay, so we're going to post the links to those books. So please download them, buy them, get them, read them. Tell us what you think. Tell us about how it changes your life. Because I'm certain that, I haven't had the chance to read them yet. It's been a crazy year and so much going on, but I'm definitely going to get my hands on both those books. And then also, I'd love to sell them in our restaurant. So we're going to find out who your publisher is. We sell so many books in the restaurants. And in fact, what I love about somebody, here you have the restaurant. I'm sure you're busy with your naturopathic practice, but then also being able to put your knowledge into words so people can hold it close to them, have that book beside them in bed, and they can have access to the information that way. And I love it. And one of the things, a woman just wrote to us this amazing story about how she had really hit rock bottom. She was no longer available to her kids. She stepped on a scale and she was well over 300 pounds. And she had really just given up on life, and it was the end for her. And we had just opened up our new location in Squamish, which is 45 minutes away from here. And so she decided to go in, and she went in, she had a meal, and she grabbed a book, and it was actually Joel Fuhrman's book, Eat to Live. And so she started to implement what he said. And, and this is incredible, because here's a woman doing this on her own, right? Like, didn't know that this community of the Green Mustache existed yet. And anyway, she's now 233 pounds, and she's looking to knock off like another 80 pounds as well. And it looks like she's definitely going to do it. And she switched her entire diet. She's no longer in that dark place. She's available for her kids. But having a book is so crucial. So, and this is one of the things, a lot of people go, I can't write a book. I'm not an expert, or I'm not a doctor like Dr. Baruch, or I'm not, and you know what, you can, like, if you've helped somebody change their diet, if you've helped somebody change their life, put whatever it is that you did with that person or those people or that community, and put it into words so people can have access to it, because that book lives on forever, and you have no idea whose lives it's going to touch and who you could save, literally by taking your words and ideas and thoughts and putting them into a book. Thank you for doing that. I think it's incredible. I love books. I have a whole library of them, and you can never have too many. At all. So one of the things that, right now we're seeing this like massive spike in people who are switching their diet, people who are becoming vegans. I think that, a few years ago, it was like 1% of US citizens were vegan. Now it's like 18 to 20%. And that was last year's stat. So I wouldn't be surprised if it's in the 20s to 30s now. So, what do you see on your end in the US, like, as being besides all the work you're doing, because you're definitely behind that increase in stats, but what do you think's happening? Like, why are people making these changes?
Well, I think it's the convergence of a lot of things all at once. One of the things is there's a president in the White House that has all of a sudden made people out here realize that probably what has always been the case, but you're on your own, buddy. I'm not doing anything for you that you could do for yourself. So you're on your own. Your health care needs to be your care. You need to be responsible for your health care. And although I'm not a fan, I do see the value of somebody coming along and shooting straight and telling you exactly how they feel rather than sugarcoating it and make you think that they really look out for your best interests, because the government doesn't. Corporate interest is not your interest. You know, they're different. And I think now you have somebody who's making you see that right in your face. Hey, look, if you want to get better, if you want to lose weight, you know, you can imagine what 45 would say. He would say, you know, get out on the track and eat more vegetables. You know, and it would be just that, you know, I'm not touching it. You don't need to come to me if you need to lose weight. You need to figure that out. And I'm not going to pay the insurance cost to help you lose weight when it's something that you can do on your own. So we're seeing that now come together with a healthcare system that's now being challenged significantly. We don't know what it's going to be at the end of the day. We don't know what the American healthcare model is going to be. All we know is that the people who are making the decision are people who seemingly are looking out for the corporations and not the people. That's not their interests. They're concerned about the corporations and not the people. Now, you have along with that, this whole campaign in the African-American community, which is Black Lives Matter. Now, within that whole construct of Black Lives Matter and people all of a sudden waking up and seeing police brutality and seeing all this, all of a sudden now, my life is more valuable. And if my life is more valuable, then I need to support the institutions that are supporting me. So now you're finding more African Americans are doing business with other African Americans or other African American businesses. And you find African American businesses are really trying to separate themselves from the mainstream by offering something that's better, that's going to get people better results. They're saying the appetite is increasing for that which is better. So that all coming together with a guy who wrote or who put together a video who's saying the same things that you and I have been saying for the last however many years, but he puts together this video and all of a sudden the light bulb goes off in the African-American community like I've never seen it go off before, and it's called What the Health. And all of a sudden everybody in the neighborhood is like, oh my God, I'm going vegan today. I'm going vegan today. I'm going to do this right now. I'm like, wow, what took you to that point? I've been saying the same thing. I don't know, but whatever he said, I believe it. And I'm going to go vegan today. So you got all of those things coming together, and now you have this, you know, this great opportunity for those of us who are in the business world, in the vegan business world space, you know, to be more successful. And you've got more people, you know, that are getting better results with regard to their own health. They're feeling better about themselves. And for me, it allows me to hire more people. So they're looking up and they're saying, wow, there are more people like me that are now working at this establishment. That must be a good thing, you know. And some of them, that's my daughter working back there. You hired my daughter, you know. So they're seeing that community thing working. And I just see it growing. And I would like to figure out what he did with that video that maybe we weren't so or as effective at doing with our lectures, workshops, and our own videos, you know, short of me being a white man. What could I do to get people to see and say, wow, you know what, I need to change.
Yeah, no,
but I
definitely.
think all of those coming together, it got us where we are.
Yeah, no, and it's a great place to be. I bet, you know, you'll agree with this too, because when I started doing this 10 years ago, like it was, you know, and you've been doing this much longer. So I can't even imagine going back to the 70s. And like, I would love to have been a fly on the wall, listening to the comments flying in at you and what people were saying to you and at you and behind your back and everything like that about like this crazy guy who's eating vegetables, you know, what does he think he's doing? But even 10 years ago and even now, it's, I'm so thankful for those documentaries because it's made my life so easy. So many people come up to me and they say, I watched What the Health. Oh my goodness. Let's take a water break.
Yeah. No, but I'm with you. And I see the same thing. And they watch these videos. And I think he hit on some things that maybe we don't bring together. And one of those pieces that he put together in that video was he talked about how these warehouse, these animal warehouse farms, many times are located right next to communities of people of color, which is damaging the health of the people within that community or close by that community. And all of a sudden now you're thinking, maybe you're thinking this is like secondhand smoke now. So now just because I'm supporting this industry, now you're getting a bad environment around your home. And not only that is, I know I'm getting, the video tells me that that's the reason why I have high blood pressure, heart disease, diabetes. Maybe now my medical doctor isn't getting me any healthier. He's just keep feeding me more chemicals, and I keep giving him money, and I keep having to go back for more doctor's visits, and sooner or later my toes are going to be amputated, and then my leg, and so on and so forth. So maybe I need to try something different. Maybe all of this coming together has caused us to have that light bulb moment where we say, you know what, maybe I'm done with this,
Yeah, no, it's amazing. Super, super thankful for those documentaries as well. And I think it's only going to make our lives so much easier. One question I have is, because we got asked this all the time with our restaurant, because we have 2 million tourists that come through Whistler every single year, more than 2 million. So they would eat at the Green Mustache and they would say, oh my gosh, we need one of these in Bellingham. We need one of these in California. So I bet you've been asked over and over and over again. So what has stopped you from opening up more locations?
I'm not as willing to take the risk. I've opened up 3 locations now, and 2 within the last 5 years. And so I'm a little bit more hesitant now because I'm not 25 anymore, and I need to start planning my retirement. I need to make sure that I'm putting something aside because I don't have a big Social Security or a big pension. It's only what I'm able to put aside that I'm going to live off of, or how successful the business is what I'm going to live off of. So I'm a little bit more conservative with what I'm willing to do with regard to expansion. However, what I've done, I mentioned it earlier, in partnering with the community, now I get the protection of the community because the community wants me to be successful because I'm partnered with them. And the more successful that I am, the more successful they are because now they're connected with me. So any future venture that I engage, I'm looking to bring some other people with me because one, I think other people need to experience this success. And I think other people need to also bear the responsibility of the challenge of getting it going. And if I've got 100 people that are saying, I'm going to email it out to all my friends and Facebook it out to all of my friends and Twitter and so on, and I'm going to make sure that everybody I know knows, then it increases the likelihood of me being successful with regard to my business. Not just at the beginning, but on an ongoing basis because they're going to be connected to the business forever.
Yeah, no, I love that. And I have a feeling, when you do decide to retire, you're going to be so well taken care of by the community because of what you've given to the community. Sure. There's no doubt about that. I guarantee I know, and I'm going to one day visit you and I'm going to visit your location and I can't wait to eat there. And I'm assuming it's exactly the same way. Your customers are coming behind the counter and hugging the staff and saying thank you, and we have that in our restaurant. So I know that, the love that you put out into the community is going to come back to you 1,000-fold when you retire. So you won't even have to worry about that at all. Right. Have you seen that happen though, where people have come to, your location, the Everlasting Life Restaurant and Lounge, and then they've gone off and created their own things? Have you seen that spin-off as well?
Oh, yeah. So my head chef back in 2008, I sold him his first restaurant because I owned 2 at that time. I sold him his first restaurant. So now he's now my biggest competitor, although it's cool, And, so we're right here in the DC marketplace. And then one of my customers, longtime customer, he opened up a raw food vegan shop in Washington, D.C. as well. So he became a competitor at some level. And now I had one of my employees opened up a shop in Baltimore, helped their family open up a shop in Baltimore. So, yeah, we've seen it. We've seen it happen, and we've seen people spin off and do some pretty positive things, not to mention many of the vendors that we have that supply us with our beverages or our cakes and our cookies or what have you. They're actually either former employees or customers that one day said, you know what, I think I could quit my job because I bake just that good. If you would buy these baked items from me, I would quit my job and I would supply you with baked goods. So we have 2 or 3 vendors that are supplying us with cakes and drinks and other items. And they were either customers or some of them are still employees, and we're actually allowing them to do business with us while they're still working here.
I love it. That's an identical situation that's happened to us. We've had, probably 2 or 3 or 4 employees that have created their own businesses. One has, we've had people in the community who said, if I created this kombucha business, would you buy it from me? And I said, hands down, I will. So now she's in every single one of our locations and she quit her job in government to create Spark Kombucha. We had another employee that he's like, I I make these flax wraps. You know, like, do you think you could taste them and sample them? And I was like, hell yeah, let's do it. And so I started sampling them. And of course, we brought them in and we started making these flax wraps that were selling like hotcakes. Like, it was, you know, it was incredible. And then he ended up leaving because he grew his business. And like, it was the best thing. We sat down with him and we created a business plan and a cash flow statement. I said, hey, listen, look at your cash flow statement. This is what you could be doing if you broke off, you know, from us and made this business go. And that's what he did. And, you know, lots of stories like that. And so that's the beauty about it is, you know, you think you're creating this one little restaurant, but really you are influencing the lives of so many people beyond it, right? Whether it's like creating entrepreneurs, creating new like healthy vegan, plant-based, you know, companies, like it's pretty phenomenal what can happen by, you know, starting something like you created. So I definitely thank you for doing that. It is amazing. Like, your story is phenomenal. So we're going to wrap up here because I don't know how much longer my throat will last, but I can literally sit here and listen to your stories forever. There is one story I have to ask you about, and I'm pretty sure it was Howard who told me about it, Howard Strauss. And, you know, he had mentioned the fact, like, you are in a crime, you know, is it still the same way as it was back in 1995 when you first opened your restaurant? Like, what's the crime rate there now?
Oh, DC has experienced significant gentrification. Mm-hmm. So it's quite different now, different.
But he has this story, and I just want to know if it's true.
Sure.
You know, it's some guy coming in for like a juice or a healthy meal, and he literally had to pull a gun out of his pocket and put it, like, tell us that story.
So he's buying his juice, and, you know, just like every other customer, you know, you're waiting for him to come up with his money, and you realize that he's struggling in his pocket. He's trying to figure out how to get his money out of his pocket, and, you know, we're patient. And eventually he just puts, you know, he puts this thing that's obstructing his access to his money, which turns out to be this huge black gun that he just puts it on the counter, gets his money and says, here, you know, my fault, you know, and rolls out the door. And I said, oh, okay, that's where I'm living, huh?
This is amazing. Look at you. Like, yeah. This is incredible. Yeah. And if you can do that, like, at that time in a community, like, you know, the fact that even, you know, the guy who's packing is coming in to get healthy food from you, like, come on, Parliament, like, government, you need to look at this and go, okay, we need to make some changes around our food systems here and, you know, support this healthy food because, you know, even the people who are packing want it as well. Yeah, I love that story. I'm so glad that I got to hear it straight from you. You know, it's a bit different here in Canada because we don't have, we have gun laws that are a little bit different than they are in the States. So, you know, you don't see too many people, you know, definitely with pieces in their pocket as they're rooting around for change for their juice. But yeah, it is truly amazing what you're doing. And then the other question I have for you is around, where do you get your food from? Like, how far does it have to travel? Has it been hard sourcing it?
Well, we always are working to get our food local. Okay. So we're wanting to get it local and we're wanting to get organic. Mm-hmm. And it isn't the easiest thing to do, especially depending on the time of the year. But we have tapped into several organic farms where we're able, in one instance, they grow so much that they don't have, you know, enough hands to pick, you know, all the kale. And we sell so much kale out of our restaurant. It's like, okay, just tell me what day we need to come over. And I'll go get a band of volunteers and we'll go over and get some kale. And we're talking about maybe 10, 15 trash bags full of kale that we'll take out of there. And it saves him from having to let it go to waste. And two, it saves us because we don't have to spend the money on it and allows us to get it while it's still alive and breathing and it still has energy left in it. So we can serve it to our customers. So our customers benefit from it. So it's just a win-win-win all the way around. And we're looking for more relationships like that. In fact, you know, we talk about the institution and the need for a Gerson institution. I've mentioned it to our brother Brian down at Hippocrates. I've mentioned it to Howard at Gerson, that we need an institute in the hood. And because nobody that I know of is ready to get on a plane and go to Florida or go to Mexico and go through some program. They're just not, no. So if we are able to create those small institutions within the hood that give them a 3-day weekend where they can, out of 7 days, at least 3 days, we know they're going to be getting something good. Yeah. Now, the other days, hopefully we've educated them long enough so that they're going to get these other things right. Well, accompanying that institute was going to be us growing all of the food. So now the food not only was going to be local, but it was literally going to be like just picked within hours of it being served to the customer.
Yeah.
So, we do see the value in that, and we do have those relationships, and we want more of those relationships. We know that our food, although it's healthier than what they're getting out there in some other places, it's still, yet and still could be healthier. Yeah. So we're working to bring that institute into reality. And this, what we're doing in the media space here, within the restaurant, our studio here, we're looking to bring more attention to what we want and more attention to people so that we can possibly tap into that person who's going to say, hey, man, I got a 20-acre farm that I'm not doing anything with. I'm paying taxes on it, and it's just eating a hole in my pocket. How about you take it and do your thing with it? Sure, we'll take it.
That's incredible. And I feel like, I love quantum physics, and I can't wait to dive more and more and more into it. But I feel like your DNA and my DNA, like, we're the same. Like, our stories are so in alignment. So I'll tell you what we did here. So number one, you have created almost like a Gerson Institute with what you're doing. And I do know what you mean, because, the Gerson Institute is pretty rigorous diet therapy, really working with people of cancer, and, chronic disease, where it's like time is not on your side, so you have to make the radical changes in your diet to be able to reverse the illness, and all the symptoms of it. So I get the need for that. And it's exactly what we just did in Pemberton, British Columbia, which is 30 minutes north of Whistler, which is 1 hour north of Vancouver. And, for the last 10 years, my clients have been flying down to California and Mexico, and some go to Hungary to go to the Gerson Institute. And so we said, you know what, we need to keep it close to home. So we bought a 1 acre piece of agricultural land here. We have, it sleeps 12 guests so that they can come in. We've turned it into, an unofficial Gerson clinic. This summer, we're going to be planting a biodynamic organic farm on, the 1 acre, so we can grow the food. So like you said, we can pick it fresh and then turn it into juice and turn it into salad dressings and salads and meals and everything for the clients who come through here. And the minute we did that, we had somebody in the community who said, hey, I have 4 acres of land that are just sitting here doing nothing. Do you want to use it? Like, you can have it, grow food on it, supply it to your clients and guests who are coming through who have, diseases and they need to heal. So if there's anyone out there in Maryland right now that has, 20 acres of land that you guys want to donate to Dr. Baruch and his team to get a Gerson clinic started, please do it. Another project that Howard and I are, we've been brought into by this incredible woman from Texas. She actually went to China and invited health officials in China to come into her wellness center and do the Gerson therapy. So here we have like the mayor, the deputy mayor, members of the CDC, members of health departments who came in and actually did the therapy. So went and got off the pork, got off the beef, got off the processed food, and ate Gerson food for an entire week. Literally did the coffee enemas, the detoxing, everything. And, and that's it. They said, well, we're going to donate you a building and we want you to create a Gerson clinic. So I think just by, you've created the restaurant and you have the, the media, you have the workshops, you have everything. I have no doubt that somebody is going to come forward and donate you that piece of land so you can make that happen. Because it's true. We shouldn't have to get on a plane to get healthy.
Right.
We should be able to do it in our backyard. So I think it's going to be incredible, but we are going to help you in that mission. I don't know how, but we want to support you in that. And so we're going to try and make that happen. And that'll be an amazing day when we can cut that ribbon or cut that carrot or whatever it is we cut to announce the celebration of that center. So I'm super excited. And I love your dream for that. And there's no doubt that that's going to happen for sure. Because every community needs it. If anybody's looking for a business plan or a business idea out there, this is it. Create a Gerson center in your state so people can just get in their car and drive there, still be close to their family, still be close to their community. It's going to be incredible. Yeah. It has been the greatest pleasure chatting with you. I feel like you and I are going to be really lifelong friends in this endeavor as we move forward. If there's any way we can support you in anything, we are there 100%. I wish we can get more. We had more time to dive into, what it was like becoming a naturopath and all of that. But I think we're going to have to just do another interview down the road where we talk about that. And especially when my throat is not so raspy. Yeah, I need to go put some good food into my body. So is there anything that you want to leave with, any key words for, listeners, anything that you want to, touch their heart and soul with? Please, now is the time to do it.
Well, I would say, if you're able to create or envision it in your mind, you can create it in the world around you. And I think that's what we've created here. You know, this was one day a vision. You know, I tell people, I don't know whether you're familiar with the song. Of course you are. You're in Canada. Was that Drake who did that song? But it was we started from the garage and now we're here. You know, are you familiar with that rhythm?
I'm gonna have to
They
look
say
that
we
up.
started from the bottom, now we're here. But we started from the garage, now we're here. And this was just a vision. This was a vision that I had, and I didn't give up. And I think that would be the message that I would want to give for. It doesn't matter whether it's your business interest or your personal interest, it's personal development or your healing journey. You know, wherever you start, just create that vision, decide what that vision is, decide what that destination is, and then anticipate and prepare for you achieving that. And when you anticipate and prepare and you do the work along the way, then you get there. You know, you get there because, like you said, people are going to come along and they're going to help you. You're going to find people that are doing what you're doing or that have done what you've done and allow you to leapfrog past some of the phases of this that you would have otherwise had to have learned on the way. Now you can leapfrog because somebody's already done it and they're going to give you a hand up. Mm-hmm. And we have institutions and we have programs that we offer to people, not only the support group, the healing support group, which will be something that we broadcast soon out on the internet. So people outside of our local area will be able to share their stories and get the benefit of others. And also, you know, as a collective, we'll be drawn closer together. But we also have a certification program, which is kind of our Gerson Institute activity, in that we're creating little doctors, if you will, within the households, little bush medicine doctors within the household. So now you can learn and then go back home so that the minute somebody has a sniffy nose or, you know, somebody's got a headache or somebody's got an upset stomach, you don't immediately go to the medicine cabinet. You go to the kitchen and we figure out what we can do there. So we're creating these, you know, these in-house, you know, experts on health and wellness, natural health and wellness that we do through a certification program that is pretty comprehensive, in that we're dealing with most of the health challenges that many of us are suffering from. Yeah. And I'm always excited, and I encourage and invite all of you, bring me out to speak. I love public speaking. I love sharing my story, and I love empowering and educating people about what they can do to go from wherever you are today to where you want to be with regard to your health, with regard to your business, with regard to your personal development. So again, I thank you very much, and I look forward to making it up there to Whistler, is it?
Whistler, British Columbia. We have like 2, 3, 4 feet of snow. I don't even know how much snow is out there right now. It's all pure white.
You can have it. You can have it.
Yeah, exactly. We'll bring you out in the summertime I'd love to bring you here and to do a workshop out of our cafes.
Great.
You know, we're going to have 6 locations open up by the summer. So, you know, we can definitely do a little tour, speaking tour to each of the locations. And we'll do it in the summer when it's warm.
Yes.
That definitely makes it nicer for traveling. So where can people learn about your certification program?
Sure. Well, I'll give you several things. You can go to my website. It's eatthecure.com. I have so many websites. I should drive you more so to communicating with me so I can tell you the right place to go depending on what you want. Yeah, but Facebook is a great place to find me. Dr. Baruch, Dr.Baruch. And I'm over 3 restaurants. I have the E-Life Restaurant Group. So E-Life Restaurant Group has up under it Everlasting Life, Vigoritos, and Evolve Vegan Restaurant. And my email address is getwell@drbaruch.com. That's getwell@drbaruch.com. My telephone number is 330-BARUCH-1. That's 330-227-8241. And I think that's how you get me. And I'd love to serve, and I'd love to expand what it is that I'm doing, and I'd love to grow, and I'd love to figure out how you and I can connect up so that we can bridge that gap. And all of a sudden now the Green Mustache and E-Life Restaurant Group is now, we all over North America.
Well, you know what? I have a bunch of ideas that came out from us talking, and it's actually pretty insane how many ideas I can come up with in like 2 seconds. And I have a few ideas for you that actually might serve you well into your retirement as well. And actually based on their Eat to Cure, programs, certification programs. So I'm going to be following up with you after this. I'm going to pitch this idea to you, see if you're into it, and I'm pretty sure you will be. And then we can get that going. But yeah, it'll help us, and help you, help me serve all of these people. So thank you so much for the gifts that you bring to this world. You're an incredible human being. Everybody, please connect with his website. Go visit him, make that your next vacation. Go to Maryland, go visit the Everlasting Life Restaurant and Lounge, go get some delicious food, share your love down there. And it's going to be a pleasure staying connected with you. Dr. Baruch, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Okay. Be well. Be well.
Be well.